Good morning. Welcome to the second half of Kiss Community Connections at My Kiss 1031. And you know what? You're still stuck with me. Yes, you're going to end your whole year with Phyllis. And you know what? You're going to end your year with me. I'm not murdering the holiday. I'm just going to talk about the holiday to which it is and remind us that when we celebrate holidays, please know what you're celebrating. You know, Monday is that all famous New Year's Eve day. It's coming. It's going to meet us up real fast. And this is what we do on New Year's Eve. Okay. New Year's Eve, that day, you get up, and first thing you got to do is you got to think about what you're going to wear. So during this whole weekend, you spend money on something new to wear, most likely. Men got a haircut and got what you're going to wear. Make sure you're matching all the way down. And, and women, same thing. Make sure your hair, nails, wig, whatever, all your outfits. Make sure you got all that. You got all that, and you're getting ready and you're getting all pumped up. You bought your ticket to wherever you're going to go, or you're buying your ticket to wherever you're going to go. You made sure you prepared that you either do black eyed peas, collard greens, put the green over your door. Some people do that. Yes, you put the fresh green leaf over your door. They get all that done. All that. So you got your meal ready. You got all these things there because you're going to celebrate and bring in the new year right. Then you have the people on the other side. On the other side, you have a group of people who they did buy the food. They did. They got the food. But they're going to go to church for New Year's Eve. And they're going to stay overnight and have breakfast the next morning to bring in the new year. But that's not celebrating the real New Year's Eve. That's simply what we've covered it up and we packaged it up and we shoot it out there in a different way. And this is what I mean. New Year's Eve was initially called Watch Night. And you had a Watch Night service. And it was in a black church. It was it wasn't done the way we do it now. So let's talk about New Year's Eve, which actually historically is Watch Night. So let's just get that out there. New Year's Eve, technically, legally, historically, is Watch Night. And it was a very precious night. But in order for me to erase your history, I've got to put something in its place. Because if I put something in its place and make it big enough, I can change what it really was. I can do that. And in the United States, we do that with a whole bunch of holidays. We do it with Christmas. We go broke when we shouldn't be spending any money at all. We do it for a bunch of holidays. We've taken holidays and changed them all the way around. We made Santa Claus a fat person, and St. Nicholas was tall and thin and carried a scepter. But anyway, he didn't have reindeers and all that. But we have a habit of changing things. But like I said, in order for me to take a holiday away from you, I've got to give you something else in return. So I would say Watch Night was taken away to make something much more commercialized. Because if Watch Night stayed the way it was started, it wouldn't be commercialized. You wouldn't be spending money going to the club. You wouldn't be going to the liquor store, wiping it all off the shelves. And believe you me, they're waiting for you to be there. All liquor stores are open and ready. They're ready because they know they're going to make a couple of $1,000s before midnight of New Year's Eve. They know they're going to make that money. They know you coming in the door because it's commercialized now. Remember, New Year's Eve is commercialized. It's no longer Watch Night. It's a commercialized event. I don't care what. Grocery stores know you coming because you're going to get your black eyed peas, your ham hocks, and your collard greens. You're going to get those. So they know that. But they also know if you're having a New Year's Eve party at your house, you're going to be getting trays of food and all this other stuff. So you're going to be spending a lot of money either way it go. They know if you're going out for New Year's Eve, to which commercially you've been trained to do, and you heard what I said, we've been trained to do, to spend a whole bunch of money and all this stuff. So we've been trained to do all these things, and, we've been following the trainer. But unfortunately, let's talk about the real part of Watch Night. Watch night service in the black community in America symbolizes the historical fact that on the night of December 31st, 1862, during the Civil War, free and freed blacks living in the United States gathered together at church or in a safe space. They did, in a safe place where they, felt that they were okay. And let's just say we were in a safe space. It didn't have to be a church. But on the night of December 31st, 1862, all blacks gathered together. So yes, I'm telling you, New Year's Eve is an African American holiday. I just told you that, so just remember. But African Americans gathered together in a safe space or in a church, and they knew the next day they would be free. They knew that next day, January 1st, 1863, that they would be free. That was already known. So they gathered together that night at the church. There was no breakfast going to be served and all that other stuff, but they gathered there, and they didn't gather there for church service. They gathered at a church because if you know your history of that day, that was a safe place that they can gather. But in certain areas, there wasn't a church there, but there was a building, a barn, where they could safely gather. Nobody would say anything, and they'd be okay. So they were there. Well, they were in the building. They had somebody else outside the door, and he was watching. He wasn't watching for violence. He was just watching. But from him, there was somebody else further down. And then you had that intelligent one a little further down. Well, I mean, the intelligent one, he knew what time it was. So when midnight, 12 a.m. struck, his job was to tell the others all the way down, we're free, we're free, we're free. And then the person came into the building or the church, and we were free. And from then they, began the singing, the dancing, and, having some fun. And they probably had some food or something to drink, but they began to plan and strategize what they were going to do. That's New Year's Eve. That's how it was spent in 1862. You hear me? 1862. Not 2019 or 18, but 1862. It was a watch night service. It was watch night. Now, if we bring it up to today, I spent no money. There was no money spent to create. No one went out and bought any new clothes because they were slaves. They couldn't go buy any clothes. They wore whatever they wore, and they gathered together to find out that they were free. Now, finding out they were free the next day, was you excitement? Yes. But then again, you got to remember the nightmare began because you're free. So what you going to do? You said, it was, okay, yeah, we're free, but what are we going to do? We don't have enough money to go buy a house. We don't have much of anything to do anything with. So you got to figure, yes, the celebration, we were free, but what we're going to do. That's when we became indentured service and other things happened with us. Yeah, but we were free. But other things happened amongst that. So that was watch night. And then there came New Year's Day. So remember, as you go out and do all the things you do, go to the party, go to the church. I don't know why we're shooting our gun up in the air, because when it comes down, it can land and hit somebody. But anyway, and all the other celebration we do, we've covered up a holiday that was sacred to a group of people. We took a holiday that was about freedom, and we took it to mean to drinking, to driving crazy, to sometimes just going way, way too far. We're shooting up in the air and forgetting that the bullet comes down. I don't know how we're not realizing that gravity is down and not going up. But anyway, we do those things. We get into fights. We go to church. We stay overnight in the church without talking about watch night. Without. We have a church service, but we don't discuss watch night. That's not discussed. You stay in the church, you sing and you praising, and then, you're have breakfast in the morning. So you stay there all overnight. But you didn't talk about watch night. We didn't talk about it because we've been taught and told that New Year's Eve is time for party celebration and they commercialize it so stores can make money. Remember, we're good at changing holidays to make money out of it instead of letting it what it is. Thank heavens Martin Luther King Day is still a safe holiday where nobody's making any money that day. We're actually talking about his dream, and we should. And hopefully we keep holidays like Martin Luther King Day free. And what I mean free is that we don't start commercializing it. You know, yes, people sell t-shirts, and that's fine, you know, because you're, you know, and that's great because you're not, we're not commercializing it. It's buying a t-shirt to represent it. But as we celebrate New Year's Eve, we need to remember what it actually is. We need to call it sometimes what it is. You know, so I'm asking you, what are you going to celebrate this New Year's Eve? Are you going to celebrate watch night? Are you going to talk about watch night? Are you going to actually delve into watch night? You know, when are we going to sit down and have a conversation about it? You know, because I think that we need to relive watch night over again as a people, because we're going backwards. So we might need to sit down and actually talk about watch night and see where we are on watch night. As a people, where are we for watch night service? Where are we? Are we still back in 1862 where they were? Are we still there? Did we go back there? Now, did we end up back in that same setting? Are we in that same setting right now? Are we? I would say yes, we are. I would say it's time that we sit down and talk about watch night and what it really meant, and what it was about, and what it was for us, as well as what it was for them. So I think that we need to, when we celebrate a holiday, we need to go back and actually understand what we're celebrating. I'm not saying don't celebrate it, but know what you're celebrating. You know what it is. Pay attention how a non-commercial holiday became a commercial holiday. You know, pay attention. You know, we've allowed commercialization and businesses to let us know, excuse me, but we're gonna do something about this. We're gonna commercialize this. We're gonna change it because we can make money off of this, and we can take away the history of it by making some money. We can take total history away from what it actually is. We can make some money, and the people will never know, because we don't want to talk about watch night. We don't want to talk about that. We'll talk about what we want to talk about. So we allow people to change it, and change it is what it is. So I would like for everybody who's celebrating New Year's Eve to remember what you're celebrating. Just remember it. I'm not saying don't do what you do, but remember what it is. Remember what it meant. Remember how they felt, you know, and like I said, remember that I think we're going backwards right now. So we might need to redo watch night so we can re-energize ourselves to move forward in a different way. Because right now, we're going too many directions at the same time, and we're getting nowhere while we're doing it. You know, so I want you to have a happy New Year's. I really do. I want you to have a safe New Year's. But I want you to think while we're doing all this for New Year's. I want you to think about the money you're spending and who you're giving it to for New Year's Eve. And I want you to think about you're spending all this money for a ticket and you're doing all these spending, but we still have people who don't have. And that's not what Watch Night was supposed to be about. So like I said, I want you to have a safe and happy New Year. I want you to have the mindset of the future for New Year's, because get rid of the mindset of today because it doesn't work. But I want you to have a safe, like I said, happy New Year. I want you to remember why you're doing what you're doing. And I want you to remember who started it, what we're doing. But also, briefly, what I'm going to say before I close is, I don't know if anybody remembers, but on Friday, a great person passed away. His name was Richard Overton. He was 112 years old. He was the oldest living in the world World War II veteran. And guess where he lived? Down the street in Austin, Texas. You know, a couple of years ago, it's a lady, her name is Olivia Green. Olivia Green was the first African-American teacher in Austin ISD. I got a chance to meet her a couple of years ago, and we're still friends now, still talk to her every now and then. I love her energy and her drive. But she asked me one year to come down to Austin to Mr. Overton's birthday. You know, and when she told me about it, I'm like, why am I going to this man's birthday? You know, and I asked her, I said, why am I going? She said, look it up. I'm like, dang. Yeah. So I looked it up and I showed up. You know, once I looked it up, because she's hung up the phone. You know, she said, you know, read about it. Check it out. Sir, you'll be there. I'm like, okay. You know, to me, I'm like, okay, but I ain't going. I did. You know, I was like, okay, but I'm not going. And then when I, you know, Googled his name, I showed up at the birthday party. But I heard his story, you know, and his story was awesome. He remembers not everything, but he remembered a whole lot, you know, and he talked about friends and he talked about the war and the change of the war. He talked about so much, you know, he had you sitting there, you know, like a little kid listening to a story from mom and dad, you know, and it was really cool. And I'm glad I had a chance to meet him and talk to him for a little bit. But, you know, he's went from now. So now he's one of our ancestors who we need to honor. Because he lived a long life, 112. Whoa, you know, he saw a whole lot, and a whole lot happened to him. And if you, the other day in the paper, it was in USA Today, they talked about him on CNN, Huffington Post. The governor had great word to say about him. I mean, because you're thinking, out of the entire United States, he was the oldest living World War II veteran. So we need to honor that. And those of you who don't know who he was, just Google his name and you'll read about it. But I want to thank you for listening to Kids Community Connections for the last time of this year, because next year we got some working plans, still be on. But I want you to have a safe, all means safe, New Year's Eve. And I want you to remember why you're celebrating New Year's Eve and the history of Watch Night and the fact that we need to redo it and talk about it again. But I want you to always remember, you cannot lead a positive life with a negative mind. But talk to you next Sunday. Bye now.